Today, we are ranking the bosses of Mortal Shell 2. Just keep in mind, this game is only a week old, so all of our opinions are going to change over time. This is very much a first impressions and just early thoughts on the bosses kind of video. In addition to that, I usually like to refight bosses over and over again before ranking them, but this time, it was the first playthrough. We don't have a gauntlet or a refight mode, so it's going to be very surface level stuff. Just keep that in mind. I just can't break down a moveset or get too in depth when I haven't fought the bosses over and over just yet. And lastly, I haven't seen a boss rank uploaded yet, so I just thought this would be a fun way to get some discussion going and get the ball rolling on YouTube. It's going to be the gate bosses and the endgame area encounters. Spoilers ahead. Let's get into it. Unfortunately, our dead last place is going to be the final boss of the game, Seany the Unbidden. Now, part of the reason I am going to be so harsh on Seany is because this is the final encounter in the game. This should be climatic, cinematic, fun, just a banger, but it's as bad as it gets. Mortal Shell 2's endgame was pretty unbalanced when it comes to damage, and Seany has some outrageous attacks that one-shot your shell, and the worst was the fucking tail attack. This, for me, was a one-shot every single time. A true one-shot kill, because it breaks your shell and then kills you after breaking it in one fell swoop. On top of that, look at this time that it hit me. What am I supposed to do to not get killed here? I'm seriously asking, like, I'm not joking. What was I supposed to do? That looks unreactable to me. And then it's back to a respawn and trying again. That attack alone is enough to put him at the bottom, but on top of that, it has a crazy high health pool to go along with it, so it just combines for a mess. Honestly, guys, I got so fed up I started spamming this attack over and over again, and it felt like I cheesed the whole thing. It felt like a mix of luck and cheating, and I hate that. This was a brutal fight that breaks the cardinal sin of boss fights for me, which is absurd difficulty without being any fun whatsoever. I loved this game, but ending on Seany was a huge disappointment. He's the worst boss by far. Alright, a decent step up in this one, but still a pretty rough fight here. The monolith has all the right amounts of weirdness mixed with dark fantasy I loved in Mortal Shell 2. He's just a giant, huge wall that crushes you with, I don't know what that ball is, but it's a thing. Nevertheless, this is a long fight, and you're mostly going to have to rely on riposte after breaking his stance. This endgame area was such a step up and felt overtuned. I don't think I was over-leveled here. It was just such a huge spike. It was odd. Anyways, with the monolith, I think parrying his attacks was mostly pretty fun. They weren't very intuitive, like you're gonna have to see them a few times before you're able to get it down. But once you do, that was alright. My problem comes with the laser attacks towards the end of this showdown. Getting behind him when he shoots them in front of him is simple enough, but when it comes out of him from every direction, and too long at that, it just felt like bullshit. Surviving this and winning the fight felt like it came down to pure luck and RNG. This fight was so interesting and unique, it overshadowed some of the problems going on here. Similarly to our next fight. Magdalena Lady of the Woods is the quintessential Mortal Shell 2 boss experience. This game was fucking awesome, but I do think it's fair to say these boss fights weren't a strength of Cold Symmetry's, at least on a mechanical level. This is the ultimate example because Magdalena is a mess of a fight, but seeing the Lady of the Woods, who you were probably expecting to be some witch or ghost based on how she's spoken about, only for her to show up in a fire-spewing wheelchair while heavy metal music plays. Incredible. Just unreal stuff here. And the brutal ripostes are just so fucking funny. All of that completely overshadows how god-awful this fight is mechanically. Getting run over sucks, it's hard to figure out when to attack, and the fire is bullshit. There's ads attacking you too. I can just go on, but the shock value and hilarity of the whole thing, I take that in my game 10 times out of 10 despite how much the fight itself sucks. If you are overanalyzing the moveset of a lady with a cannon arm running you over with their flamethrowing wheelchair, reevaluate yourself, because video games are just supposed to be fun at the end of the day. The Lost Child is a flat-out, disgusting, just whole gross experience. I could not remember how I dealt with any of these attacks until looking back on my footage. All that stuck out in my mind was him vomiting over you and eating you and shitting you out. That's not a joke if you didn't play it. That's what he does. It is grotesque and just completely absurd. I have no notes on the moveset here, fellas. Just look at this. I say all the time, I'm no expert. If you're watching my rankings or videos, we go by vibes and feelings a lot of the time, because I think that's what matters most. I do like breaking down boss fights mechanically once I play them enough, but hey, this is first impressions, like I said. Anyway, what I'm getting at is if you are liking how I'm talking about this stuff and you're enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing for my future content. But back to the ranking. Skipping way later into the game here, we have the Hexapod. Seriously, Cold Symmetry, bravo on these designs. There's unbelievable stuff on all of them. Now, out of every boss on the list, this one for me personally was the most incomplete experience because I had just started using the Axe Katana and found out how busted this attack right here is. Getting invincibility frames and being able to use this over and over is just so OP and trivialized the fight for me. Still, his design is so sick, and I love that the fingers come back into you and you have to avoid them there. I wasn't the biggest fan of his projectile attacks later in the encounter, but this was a fun one that I did like from what I did see, but I didn't get the full experience. So guys, comment below what you thought of this one or any other boss. I do reply to every single comment. Droid the Conqueror is found at one of the most dogshit dungeons in the game. I hated this place. Enemies freezing you every few hits was just a nightmare. Nevertheless, Droid was a fun boss fight at the end of it. He attacks you with a giant tree trunk looking thing at a very quick speed. Because of this, I found dodging to not be very viable. You want to get off 2 quick parries or he's going to knock you on your ass and hit you while you're on the ground, knocking you out of your shell. Kinda ridiculous, but other than that, it was pretty good. He has some perilous attacks that I found very fair and not too spammy. Outside of the projectiles, there was a lot of those, but they were pretty easy to avoid. This was a straightforward fight in a snowy arena at the top of what looks like a mountain, but very cool in presentation. This is another boss I'm curious to see how I like after I replay the game in the future, but for now, he's going to rank here. Sir Isaac is a big bug with a sword and a shield. I always like when a boss in these sort of games have shields and use them to defend themselves instead of just as another weapon to look out for. The first half of this fight was one of my favorites and I liked the slower pace. But midway through, he ditches the shield and has a weapon in every hand. As you can imagine, it makes him attack much quicker. This was when we were getting into the late game of Mortal Shell 2, and this game probably needs some balancing patches because the speed and damage combined here was very oppressive. I struggled quite a bit with that second phase, and truthfully, I'm being a bit too kind to this boss as a whole. But I do think this one will age much better if they sort out his damage. Take a look at my winning attempt here where Teal's backstab damage and a bunch of critical hits just fucking annihilated Sir Isaac. Poor guy. Orm the Reclaimed is found in the final area of a game and starts out with a rematch of sorts. The discarded golem is who we fight in phase 1, and he's basically the tar golem from the very beginning of the game. The encounter in the beginning was actually such a sick fight. I'm glad we got to revisit him. And I always loved that trope of rematching something that killed you in the beginning of a video game. This is one of the few bosses with a phase 2, and while I'm not as fond of that phase, it's still good nonetheless. Orm is more of a wild beast type of enemy and comes complete with a snake on his back that will lunge at you. I found staying behind Orm to be the play, and that was what this fight boiled down to. And since I played Teal, I probably had an easier time with him than most people will. A problem I have here is the health pool is once again a bit crazy like most of the things in the last area, and his boost set does not do enough to justify the fight being so long. Overall though, this was exciting and I liked it. Malborn Offspring is a humanoid type of enemy that looks very similar to us. He's a giant Gyriid sword and swings with reckless abandon. I love the exaggerated animations of attacks in this game. I used the Greatsword Iconoclast for this reason. It was so extra, but it just worked. The Malborn Offspring is another boss where parrying is definitely the play to break his stance and unload to get some huge riposte. Rinse and repeat, and you get a surprise phase 2 where he imbues his weapon with lightning. It's more of the same, honestly, but I went for dodge here just to avoid status effects, so I did make this a different feeling phase and decently difficult. This ending gauntlet to the game was pretty exhausting, but Orm and the Malborn Offspring were good fights that, much like most Mortal Shell 2 bosses, were not very complex. But definitely number 1 is going to go to the Nameless Captive, who is just parry porn in boss form. I loved parrying these attacks, it's just beautiful. Now, maybe not a spin attack, that was pretty absurd. But the Nameless Captive has a sick design. Cool Arena is just flat out fun. His kick and grab can be a bit fast, I wasn't the biggest fan there, but this was Mortal Shell 2 at its best where we get a cool ass design and simple but fun combat. I do think that Cold Symmetry has some room to grow on making some more complex boss fights, and it did make writing this YouTube script pretty difficult, but vibes, looks, and feelings they nailed at every turn, and this was the best example of that. So even if there was no standout bosses, the roster as a whole was pretty consistently fun. I think other games have been raising the bar with bosses in this genre of games, so I went to Mortal Shell 2 with high expectations for the boss fights, and even if they missed the mark a bit, this was a phenomenal game for a lot of other reasons. Boss fights aren't the end-all be-all, despite all the videos ranking them you'll see on my channel. I think a lot more goes in the game than just those. I'll have some more Mortal Shell 2 stuff on the way, including my thoughts on the game as a whole, and I love you guys. I'll see you in the next one.